Here's everything you need to know to get started with Spiket, the new microbit compatible accessory for building your own projects that interface directly with the electrical signals from your body. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by DigiKey. More about them in a bit. By now, you're probably already a fan of the microbit, the versatile little educational microcontroller board made in partnership with the BBC. If you're not, it's about time you learn about this all-in-one board designed specifically to provide students an engaging, tangible way to dive into coding. I'm Becky Stern, and y'all know I'm usually more of an Arduino girly, but at heart, I'm an equal opportunity microcontroller enthusiast. And this new board from Backyard Brains is just too much fun not to share. They sent me a lovely care package containing the Spiket board, its special cable, and some electrodes. They also included a kit for building a neuroprosthetic hand, which we'll assemble later in the video. I've been a Backyard Brains fan since I met Greg Gage at Maker Faire Detroit in 2011. Unlike last time, there will be no cockroach legs used in today's experiments. The only research subject will be myself. The microbit slides into the slot on the Spiket, and the cable plugs into the port on the side of the board labeled Human. You'll also need two AA batteries, which go in the holder on the backside. Next, you'll need to place some electrodes on your body to read its electrical signals. We'll start with the forearm muscle and stick the electrodes on so we can detect contractions with EMG, or electromyography. 2 electrodes go along the length of the muscle, and a third goes on the back of the hand. Clip the black ground cable to the electrode on the hand, and the 2 red cables to the other 2 electrodes. It doesn't matter which is which. Don't worry, the signals traveling through these wires are extremely small, and there's no chance of electrical shock, I promise. That's a lot of what the Spiket board does, actually. Amplify those faint signals so we can use them as sensor inputs for our projects. The electrodes have a conductive gel inside that presses up against your skin, as well as the metal bit on the outside. And remember that your body is largely made up of salt water, which is an excellent electrical conductor. So the signals from your nerves that are firing your muscles can be picked up through this method, which is called BCI, or a brain-computer interface. If you've ever been in the hospital or had a doctor monitor your heart, you've probably worn this type of electrode before. The Spiket can read your heart too, but first let's finish reading our arm muscle. Once you've got your electrodes on and your board plugged in, you're ready to read the EMG signal using Microbit's MakeCode website. You'll need to install the Spiket extension. Grab the file from Backyard Brains, click Import File on the Extensions page, and choose the file you just downloaded. Now you'll see the Spiket code blocks available with all your others. To make the most basic program that displays the EMG data, drag the block labeled Start Muscle Recording into the OnStart instructions, and drag blocks to print the muscle power signal in the forever loop. Click the Show Data button, and a live graph will appear, plotting your EMG data. Try squeezing your hand into a fist, then releasing. Notice what the reading does. You can add a little logic to your blocks program to show a specific graphic depending on whether the muscle is firing or not. Drag out an if-then block and add a comparator to it. Drag a muscle power signal block to either side of the comparator and set the other side to 50, which is a good starting threshold. Set the comparator to trigger when the muscle power signal is greater than the number 50. Add 1 show icon block to each part of the if-then statement, each with a different symbol. Then transfer the code to your microbit. Now you'll have a way to display the reading even when you disconnect the USB cable from the computer. To take this even further, we can build a neuroprosthetic hand. This is a fun and simple project that mimics the movement of the flexor tendons in the fingers using strings, straws, and a single micro servo motor. Let's put it together. When you power up your hot glue gun, you should also be preparing to burn yourself with it. Not intentionally, of course, but it's really easy to do, and the longer it takes you to cool down your skin, the more damage is done. So for this reason, I always prepare a bowl of ice water and keep it nearby when I'm using hot glue. That way, I can plunge my hand into the water as soon as a burn happens, which makes it a less severe burn, so I can get back to making. Begin by cutting many small pieces of the straws, about 1 centimeter each. Then glue the sides of the straws to the foam hand, being sure not to plug up the straw's hole with glue. Follow the links in the description for all of the resources mentioned here today, including a step-by-step guide for everything we're doing in this video. While I finish gluing up these flexor tendon sheaths and installing their tendons made of string, let me take this time to thank this video's sponsor, DigiKey, which is one of the largest distributors of electronics components in North America. DigiKey carries the microbit, as well as thousands of other products and tools for makers like you and me. They also host my introductory electronics teaching series on their YouTube channel, so you can level up your skills no matter where you're at right now. Thanks to DigiKey for their continued support. Now, back to the project. When the strings are pulled, the fingers flex. The next step is to prep your servo motor to pull those strings. Attach the longest horn so that it's perpendicular to the long edges of the motor casing. Next, cut a motor-sized notch in the corner of the included balsa wood and hot glue the motor in place. If the wires are oriented away from the wood, that's what will work best for this setup. Next, glue the pencil along the length of the servo horn. You've got to be careful not to get glue on the main body of the motor though. I think it's cute that in this kit, the pencil you use to mark the wood becomes part of the project itself. The servo plugs into a port on the spiker bit. Then it's a matter of writing some code to move the motor when the muscle signal exceeds a certain threshold, like earlier, but with an additional output. If you haven't already, you'll need to install the servo library in the MakeCode workspace. Then expand on the code we made earlier by adding a servo block to the conditional statement. Now when I flex my fingers, the servo moves and pulls the strings. You may need to adjust the strings and the servo horn to achieve the desired movement. To track your heartbeats using Spiker Bit, you just need to change the placement of the electrodes and use the heart blocks included in the Spiker Bit extension. The result is an ECG signal, which is short for electrocardiography, also called EKG. The last thing included in the Spiker Bit code extension is a brain recording block, which we can use to record an electroocculogram. EOG is a measurement of the electrical activity of the eye. So 2 electrodes go around the eye, and the black electrode goes behind the ear. Now you can make projects that react to your blinks and eye movements. And now it's time for some Q&A. Why is it called spiker? Neurons communicate with trains of electrical impulses called spikes. They send tiny amounts of electricity through your nervous system to control everything you think and do. You just learned a neuroscience term. Do I have to use the blocks code environment? No, you can also use Python or JavaScript right inside the MakeCode site and switch back and forth between them. If you want to code in pure Python without the limitations imposed by syncing up with the blocks, you just have to switch over to the BBC Microbit Python editor. What parts are on the board? SpikerBit's got circuitry to amplify the electrical signals coming from the body. It's got a connector for the microbit to slide into. On the other side, there's a battery holder, a jack for the electrode cable, a dedicated connector for a servo motor, a set of expansion headers for clean access to even more pins, and 2 Grove-compatible connectors, one for digital and one for analog. I hope I've inspired you to try out a project with SpikerBit. You can find out all the info at the links in the description. And if you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and catch up on my projects by joining my email newsletter. See you next time! This video was made with support from my sponsors and donations from viewers like you through Patreon and YouTube memberships.